What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin.
And we have yet another album review for you, and one that might be anticipated. I don't know, it might not. This band's kind of been MIA for a while, but honestly, I haven't cared about this band in a while. We're going to go over the latest offering from All That Remains, Antifragile, which has to be the dumbest album title I think I've heard this year. Granted, we're just getting started, but wow. This also comes out on the 31st of January on no label. This is an independent release, which I was kind of surprised by. This band formed in 1998 in Massachusetts. This is their 10th album overall. I used to be a big fan. You know, I'm going to go ahead and just put that out there. This Darkened Heart and Fall of Ideals, which that album flat out rips. Big fan of them. I also didn't mind Overcome and For We Are Many, but after that, there was a sharp drop-off. A War You Cannot Win. My God, that album was terrible. They did not win that war. No one won. In fact, I feel like that war ended with, All That Remains Trojan horsing a Five-Finger Death Punch album on us. That was not good. And that was the last time I legit listened to them. They've had, I think, 4 albums after that, before this one. I haven't listened to any of them, and judging by most reviews I've seen, I am not missing much, but I would still describe this band, at least, when I got into them, as like melodic metalcore. They kind of fit in the same pack as Kill Switch Engage, Shadows Fall, Unearth, etc. And admittedly, I was kind of curious because when I saw the album cover, I was like, it kind of looks like an old All That Remains album again. They don't have that shitty, butt rock logo anymore. Maybe this is, kind of like the old stuff.
I also got into All That Remains with This Darkened Heart, which I thought was a pretty solid album, and then The Fall of Ideals came out, and I love that album. In fact, to this day, I still love that album. In fact, to this day, it remains one of my favorite albums that came out during that time period as far as metalcore is concerned. Just a banger of a record. And then Overcome came out, and it wasn't bad. It was still pretty good, but it wasn't as good as Fall of Ideals, and then I just kind of fell out. And I never really went back. And there's pretty good reason for that, I would state, which we're going to get into. But again, I too used to be a big fan of this band. I was a giant fan. And then I think after we lost Ollie Herbert, I think that's when I pretty much just kind of threw in the towel.
That dude was an immense talent. Honestly, he was, one of the reasons I kept coming back. Yep. I thought his guitar work was absolutely fantastic. But here we have, some relatively new faces, at least in terms of drums. We have Andy Barone of Beneath the Massacre and Jason Richardson, formerly of All Shall Perish and Born of Osiris. He is their new lead guitarist, which those are big shoes to fill. And at the helm of production, we also have Josh Wilbur, who's been working with a ton of bands over the years. So going into this, I really wasn't sure what I was going to get, whether I'd get another flat-out butt rock album, or maybe they would return to the roots. And, well, throughout this album, I was teased into oh my God, wow, there's lots of scathing melodic death metal riffage, heavy breakdowns. But then on the other side, are oh my God, that is just pure butt rock sauce in terms of choruses. So it's not necessarily a comeback, but in a way, some parts are.
It was kind of like this. It was kind of like when we sat down, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to listen to this record because, again, it's been so long since I've touched on it. And then we turned it on and I was like, yeah, cool. And then I was like, no, I don't want to listen to this anymore. And then I was like, no, wait, I want to listen to this. And that's kind of how this record flows. I'm going to be honest. At first glance, initially right out of the gate, it's not bad. It's riffy. Great drum work. I have no complaints there. The lead work on this is solid. But it volleys back and forth between, ooh, this is really cool, and god damn it.
Yeah, it kind of runs like them trying to cover every aspect of their career up to this point and targeting different demographics. There's some heavy, brutal stuff on here. Poison cut out their tongues, particularly heavy songs that, just rely on just pummeling syncopated riffs and big triplet chugs, but also still have a lot of cool melodies and really solid lead work. Jason Richardson does an amazing job on here. But on the other hand, it frequently volleys back and forth between, like, again, those more aggressive but still tuneful songs into just Well, why did you shoehorn that chorus in this song? Everything was going so well, and then you just ruined it, Phil.
Yeah, so many sing-songy choruses. And my problem with sing-songy choruses this time through, I mean, first of all, it's processed to fuck. He's reaching like a short girl trying to get glasses off the middle shelf in the kitchen. Just overly processed, and even his cleans, like, again, I remember Fall of Ideals, and I remember, like, his cleans were pretty decent. Albeit still a little processed then, like, he obviously was younger and able to hit those higher notes and able to project more, but like here, every time he opens his mouth to sing, it ruins whatever the song is.
Yeah, they are not only processed, I mean, it sounds like there's some auto-tuning on here, maybe not, but they're frequently layered, which vocal layerings, you know, that's not been a stranger to All That Remains before. They've done that before, but they've done it more effectively. But it's not just the fact that they're processed, but they're flat. They're layers of flatness. If Phil's vocal cords have been working out and getting their reps in, they've been going to planet flatness.
Ha.
I know, terrible, right? You can tell that Phil has lost a lot of the top end of his vocals here, but, you know, even in terms of like working within a more limited range, the vocal hooks are just not here. That kind of comes down to like the song structure and like the vocal, you know, dynamics themselves, like in terms of like writing a hooky chorus, which, holy shit, this album tries way too hard at. Like, I swear they're trying to like, you know, ape Kill Switch Engage, except trying to make it even more poppy.
This is like a Temu Kill Switch Engage. So this is like your free gift. You select 3 free things and then you pay shipping and they send you these little shitty trinkets. And that's kind of what is going on here. What pisses me off, though, the most about all of these clean choruses is they're sandwiched in pretty decent riffing and actually pretty heavy songs. That's what ticks me off the most. You get this really heavy moment, and it's dark, and it's jamming, and you're banging your head, and then they purposefully write in this big, kind of almost anthemic, really bright, really whimsical chorus in the middle of these songs, and you're like, why?
Yeah, honestly, I think I would have been happier if this album didn't just flat out tease me with stuff that reminded me of like their older stuff. Like the title track. Honestly, I would say that song is kind of a flat out banger. Like the riffs are awesome, lots of galloping triplet chugs and syncopated riffs and stuttered kicks. There's even an awesome thrashy break in there where Jason just goes completely the fuck off. But they're still trying to squeeze in these little tidbits of clean vocals when it just doesn't really need it. And I'm being completely honest, even Phil's growls feel a little bit less than. And of course, they're trying to do the whole like clean and heavy layering too. This is the only aspect of the album where I'd say it is like grossly overproduced. Like, yes, it has a very clean and very polished sound. You know, the drums have that very tight triggered sound. The guitars get a nice, you know, like crunchy tone, but it's, again, very pristine sounding. There's just not like a tremendous amount of intensity behind even his growls on here. But again, the music itself, it just kind of has this like give and take thing, like where you definitely get like a chance to kind of like hear that old school sound again. But I mean, then you get songs that are, I mean, they're just like heavier butt rock. No Tomorrow. Even the Piper, which has blast beats and like some really cool, like almost proggy riffing in there, they still kind of just go for these like just platitudes without any attitude vocals. Like they're just like, yeah, man, fight the thing, and I'm rising above the other thing, and I'm going through a thing. And it's the same flat melody like all the time.
And as if that wasn't bad enough, the song Let You Go. No, dude. It harkens back to Phil's time in Five Finger Death Punch.
He just played with them live, to be fair, but that's still like almost a hate crime.
To me, it would be like if Five Finger Death Punch and newer Slipknot got together and wrote a song, but it obviously wasn't vocally good like Slipknot is, and it was more butt than anything. I mean, outside of a really good lead in that song, everything is about as stock as it gets.
I mean, every song does have a good lead. I will give it that. But that song, it's just bland. It's the same kind of like 4/4 time rhythm. Yeah, they've squeezed in a breakdown, but honestly, I was not going to save that song. There's even some vocal cadences that almost kind of sound like Disturbed too, which no, Phil didn't fill in for David Draymond once, but it sounds like he could have, just, maybe not as well. Now, I will say that this album is maybe like less formulaic than, say, the last As I Lay Dying, and comes with less drama and criminal behavior. But my issue here is it doesn't feel like it gels ever. Like, it keeps going back and forth between teasing their old sound and then still trying to force that butt rock sound that not many people seem to like on people. And it doesn't work together. Like, these shifts between like the heavier material and again these like very poppy, very radio rock moments, like Forever Cold, you get a symphonic acoustic sort of opening, and then you get this like big like heavy stomp, like yeah, like a good 4/4 time, like flex your muscles sort of thing, and like, all right, this is yeah, no one can see those.
It's right there.
It's not.
It's right there.
These are lies. Anyway, then it shifts into what I described as Breaking Benjamin broke into the studio and just took over chorus. Like this trope repeated so many times, and again, like I wouldn't have such a huge problem with it if it wasn't teasing something that I felt was like a lot better.
And I wouldn't have a huge problem with it either if it had occurred less. These flirtatious moments with Ooh, Old Remains are simply that. They're fleeting, and you're just kind of flirting with it. And the way that it's tracked, you get the opener track, which is decent, but then there's some singing, and then the singing doesn't really stop until you get down to the title track, and even then they still sneak it in there. For every heavy moment on this record, there's 5 moments where you're just like, stop.
To their credit, though, they do get pretty heavy. Cut Their Tongues Up, I think, is a pretty brutal track, honestly. Like, it kind of wanders off into like deathcore territory, like almost kind of like Whitechapel-ish, but at the same time, it closes out with Blood and Stone, which I would call power metal core. It feels like you're listening to like the title card to like a Final Fantasy game that you just booted up, and then it goes into, it's kind of like Dragon Force meets Shadows Fall, and it doesn't work. You get this weird vocal alternation between harsh vocals and clean vocals that, live, I don't think that would really work because the transitions come very suddenly. But you get a lot of these bright, soaring, power metal-y riffs and such, and galloped rhythms, and the vibe just never really sticks. And, like, that's maybe kind of a complaint on here, too, is, like, a lot of this feels very shimmering and bright. I kind of wanted to hear them get back to, like, the heaviness, because before, this band balanced it out really well. And here the ratio just feels off because, like, I feel like there's a clean chorus that just gets shoehorned in here and needlessly, even if it doesn't work. Like, some of the stuff, honestly, would be awesome as an instrumental.
Yeah.
The Piper in particular, I actually really enjoyed that. I thought the riff play on that was really cool. Some of the electronic elements were a little meh, but it was flashy. It was fun. Great lead work, great guitar work, awesome drum work. And then Phil decides to sing throughout the entire song, or at least most of it up until the breakdown, which at that point I was like, why even bother? But the song itself, in terms of like composition, I thought was kind of cool. And honestly, I felt like it probably would have worked as an instrumental because, I don't know, like the vocals at no point felt like they fit. So usually we save all the negatives for the end of the video, but I feel like we kind of covered them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to reinforce some positives on here. Again, the drum work is solid. The guitar work, honestly, is probably better than it has been in years.
Agreed.
Or at least since I dropped off around A War You Cannot Win. I can't imagine much else after that was good. I didn't hear much even from the fans of this band. It's like, oh man, how's the new All That Remains? Like, it came out. They're touring with Five Finger Death Punch. You going? Fuck no. But yeah, like there's some solid individual performances on here, but as an album, this just does not gel. And, honestly, I really wasn't like rooting against them. Like, Phil's podcast stuff is, it's very bro-ish. But I did kind of want to hear this band come back because, again, Fall of Ideals, I think, is like essential melodic metalcore listening.
It's a god tier record for metalcore.
But this is not that. This kind of sniffs it and then just kind of walks away. Overall, I'm going to give this 2 stars. You know, the musicianship, I think, is solid. It's just the songwriting and composition. And again, Phil's vocals, they've dropped off. And no amount of effects can really hide that, especially in the cleans. Like, growls might be serviceable, but the cleans, again, they're just stacking flat layer on top of flat layer, and they just don't really add much, especially when you're trying to go for a big chorus on virtually every track. That's annoying. But, I mean, I suppose if there was like a better vocal delivery, like, you know, something like that was on Fall of Ideals, it might have worked better, but no, like, this was kind of a chore to get through at points. But again, there are some moments on here that, yeah, I would go back and listen to, like, Poison It or Cut Their Tongues Out. The title track, regardless of how stupid that made-up word is, they're honestly pretty solid tracks. But yeah, overall as an album, 2 stars. It's less than okay.
I'm in that boat as well. I'm in the 2-star boat. I said it when we were about halfway through the record, to be honest. It's all right. I will jump on board and say that musically, I think it's pretty solid. Jason Richardson is definitely a great riff writer, and his leads are killer. Every lead on this record is scorching. The drum work is pretty goddamn good. I haven't heard drum work like this out of All That Remains since Shannon Lucas was in the band. I agree that as a whole, it doesn't really gel really well. Like, you've got them pulling from too many camps, trying to appeal to too many audiences. And I think that's what they're doing. I think they're actually reaching out and saying, like, hey, you like heavy? Like, check this track out. Oh, you like sing-songy? Check this track out.
It's weird when you think about it. Like, this is like what a band does to appease, like, you know, a board of executives at a large label.
Yeah.
And this is an independent release.
Right. There were definite moments on this record that I liked. Mainly Antifragile, Poison It, and Cut Their Tongues Out might be the heaviest thing that All That Remains has ever written. I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say that. But good moments didn't outweigh the bad moments on this record. And even so, I'm not saying that a bunch of moments aren't musically sound. They're just not really cohesive. When you get older and you want to try to hit vocals that you used to hit in your younger years, don't make it so apparent that you can't. You could tell when he's reaching. You could tell when he's reaching for notes, and you can tell that Studio Magic tried their best to cover that up, and that didn't really happen either. I'm not saying Phil Labonte is a terrible vocalist by any means. I'm just saying that right now, at this point in the game, he didn't hit what I think he wanted to hit. So overall, it's 2 stars. It's not bad. It's not as bad as their last record. It's just not what I was hoping to get, especially when you hear the first couple measures of this record. But check it out for yourself.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. They are only 99 cents, and we do a members-only live stream when we get a chance. We have one coming up here relatively soon, but that is, you know, kind of the main perk. And memberships are the main way to support the channel. We also still have our store, thrallsmetal.com, with our t-shirts and hats. That is linked down below in the video description. And, of course, if you'd like to join and become a member of this thing that we have here that we do, by all means, there's a join button somewhere down here.
It's down there, I promise you.
And you are totally allowed to click it.
Yep, and we will be very happy if you click it. And even if you don't click it, we'll still be happy. And really, that brings us to why we're here. Tons of stuff coming from Thralls of Metal, album reviews, discography rankings. Next up is At the Gates. Fucking stoked as fuck for that. Just tons of content all the time. That's all we do here at Thralls of Metal. And we do it all for you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this. We are just elated to watch this channel continually grow, and it makes no sense to me that we keep adding people on, but for whatever reason, you guys like it, and we appreciate that, because we're pretty dumb. And so the fact that you like pretty dumb stuff, again, baffles us, and you're here. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys absolutely rule. Tons of content coming your way. So one more big thank you, because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.